Welcome to the Japanese yen unit token. My name is Christian Nicolai, and I'm part of the unit core team. And I guess you can hear me. Let me just double check that. Okay, good. So I would like to give you an overview about the Japanese economy and Japan and the Japanese currency, the yen, and to introduce like why we choose to go to issue and launch a stablecoin for the Japanese yen. So looking at the Japanese economy, we have Japan being number 3 in global gross domestic product comparison. And the really most entire amazing fact is that Japan is actually like doing that without really having own resources. They're importing all raw materials. So they're actually like value adding a lot. So that's the nature of the Japanese economy, like adding value to whatever they do. Their population is quite like high in comparison to the available land mass. They have 126 million people, and 3% of that are living outside of the country, which seems to be little, but in comparison to other countries, it's actually quite a bit. And so what I perceive is that the Japanese citizens living outside, they're supporting Japanese export-oriented economy. And another amazing fact about Japan, and we see a lot of amazing facts here, because I think Japan is really like an exceptional country, and an exceptional currency, and also an exceptional like people. Japan's quality of life is very high, even despite it's so densely populated. It ranks number 10. And what is amazing is that the average life expectancy is about 85 years in 2021, and it even increased during COVID times. That's already like giving us a good overview about how amazing Japan is. Looking at the Japanese currency, the yen, it has been like started in 1871 to stabilize the economy, because there were many local different kind of currencies available. And then it kind of went like a generic way of developing a currency which is very comparable to other currencies. Like the yen was made from copper and then silver, like starting to trade with the US a lot. Then we moved into the gold standard, like later on in the here. Then after the Second World War, the yen was pledged against the US dollar, and that like started to change a lot, because the two industries and the two economies were kind of like really getting like closer together. Then the yen was devaluated, so really going like up and down, flotating against the US dollars in the 70s, like, and then the US, they needed to like free themselves a little bit up, because the dependency was really increasing. So they depreciated the yen against the dollar. And then that it was leading also again to an increase of the yen against the dollar in the 80s, right? So it's really an up and down history. Then later on in the 90s, the Japanese yen was so strong that it was nearly like bringing the GDP to the same size as of the United States. And Japan monetary policy, and we see it later also, is like really a stable one. And they were aiming at a 2% inflation. They were really successful, like in this century. And the yen surpassed the dollar in power and strength. And now also like a little bit late, but the Japanese government and the Bank of Japan, they have decided to issue a central bank digital currency. So they are starting proof of concept, and they're going for a trial. Understanding the yen a little bit deeper means it's the third most traded currency in the world. It is considered to be a safe haven, meaning like many people go into these investments like during like difficult and times of uncertainty in economies. In 2013, the yen rose against the dollar like 4% and against the euro by 5% because uncertainties in Europe and in Italian elections. And it has been a safe haven in the recent times, and that is due to legislation and Japan's stable position being one of the world top creditors, and also like nearly zero interest rates. So that is like one thing we can see over the development of Japan and the currency, the stability and the increase here. If we go a little bit further into understanding Japan, and if you have been there, you know it's an amazing country. And in my eyes, it's different from everything else in the world. It has the largest metropolitan area with Tokyo, like nearly 40 million people. It is amazing precise. So like me being a German, we are like big rail builders and we are good in train business, but Japan tops it. In 2018, the average delay was 0.5 minutes of the Shinkansen. And that goes every like 10, 15 minutes between the major cities in Japan. Another one is Japan's are really, in my eyes, I can say that I'm German, they're a little crazy here and there. So they have a vending machine out there for every 24 people. And you can buy more or less everything on a vending machine in Japan. So it's really amazing. And like if you have been there, you usually like experience earthquakes because they have plenty of those. I had my first earthquake experience in 1988 in Tokyo, like with a 4.1. It really shook us like quite a bit up. But you can have like one of about 160 earthquakes in a year in Japan. So it is amazing. It is different, and based on that amazing and different, they have developed a really strong economy. So not only for export, we'll see this in a minute, but also the domestic the consumer market is quite big. So we have the fourth largest in the world after the US, China, and the EU. So Japan is here, and they're quite spending quite a bit of money. So it's 2.7 trillion US. Has been spent in the Japanese economy. I didn't believe that when I was traveling there in the 80s the first time. I was amazed about like the difference between like what you can buy in the country and what they export and how they plan that business. It's really a strategic country. And which leads me to going a little bit into the economy. The backbone of the economy is the small and medium businesses. So 99% of those, they really contribute to the economy's strength. We have 53%, 53 companies being part of the Global 500. And what we all know is, of course, Japan is the leader of manufacturing one of the leaders in electronic cars, ships, machine tools, motors. We know these companies like Honda and Sony and so forth. So they have their strengths in manufacturing, and we see that later also that there is challenges coming with that. Japan lives off export. It generated a 6.9 billion trade surplus in 2020, which was amazing in COVID times. So they really made well after 2019. If we compare that internationally, we see it's number 5 here compared to other areas. China, US, Germany are leading, no surprise. Netherlands, a little surprise, but then Japan comes. And the most export industries you can see here, we have machines, vehicles, electric, optical, plastics, steel, organics, GAMS. So it's really manufacturing That's what they really like very good at. The consumer market accounts for more than half of the GDP, so it's really strong. And we can see here on the chart that it has been dropping in the COVID situation. So we see that that drop here in 2020, and like unemployment rate in comparison increased. So people got less money, could spend less. So Japan, they got it really like hit economy-wise during the COVID area. Another aspect I would like to put the lights on is the Japanese people. And one thing is 1/3 of the population is already over 60 years old. And that's amazing, because in the next 50 years, the population is expected to shrink by 45 million people. So we're seeing like a decrease in population, a massive decrease in population. These 45 million, that's the entire population of Spain. So, and by 2050, more than 400,000 people will be at least 100 years old. So we really have an increasing old population in Japan, and they need to like look at how they solve that. These numbers I really feel are quite interesting. On a global scale, today we're about 7.8 billion people, and that is to be projected to be 10.8 billion in 2100. And we see like how the population shifts from Asia to Africa. And today, Japan is number 11 with 126 million people here. And that is to be foreseen to be like only 75 million in the end of the century. So they need to think about that's a lot of less people and how to sustain their lifestyle, their production, and their economy. So that's a major challenge here. So the future of work in Japan is automation and digitalization. So those are the key facts and the key buzzwords and trends which they are actually like pushing forward. Today, Japan leads the world in potential jobs displaced by automation. So we are already kind of there. And because we have a shortage of 1.5 million workers by 2030 in Japan. So automation and expanding labor force participation. So we're really looking into these two major topics to sustain their position in the manufacturing, automation, and digitalization to spread, to keep that position both in economic strength, but also in export. Looking, having a little bit of understanding about Japan, the awesomeness of the country and the strength of the economy, the situation, how the yen developed. Let's look at the financials, and then later on, like also about the crypto situation a bit. Three financial facts about Japan. Japan is different, so it also has a different fiscal year than most of the world. The fiscal year starts on 1st of April, which I find odd, but it's historic reasons for that. This Tokyo Stock Exchange is the third largest in the world. So again, here we are in the top field compared to other countries. But what is surprising, and also like it has the highest debt of any developed nations, even like more than the US. So it's like 13 trillion US dollars. That's 266% of the GDP as of 2021. So that's really amazing. And their attitude and regulation towards cryptocurrencies is quite also like very Japanese, I would say. They were like the first country in the world to have a law defining that crypto assets are actually legal. And they also were the first to recognize cryptocurrencies to be legal payment methods in 2017 already. And another amazing fact is that the tax rate is quite high. So you really got to watch out here. So there are certain areas, and you of course, need to look into this, but that can be up to 55% because it's classified to be miscellaneous incomes from, especially if you look at crypto mining, lending, and other incomes here. And we have 23 crypto exchanges in Japan. And if we look at the initial coin offerings, that is very regulated in Japan. So the regulatory bodies, they haven't really much supported that with like free laws and free like initial coin offerings. So you need to really have a license to start your ICO by yourself, or you need to work with somebody who is having a license. So it's not so easy and unregulated in other countries. But as we see, that also gives security for bigger investors. And that also supported a very constant and growing adaptation of cryptocurrencies in Japan. And the Japan crypto story is a story of consistency, but also of initiation. And Satoshi Nakamoto, like who is the inventor of Bitcoin, he chose a Japanese pseudonym. And so that crypto story will always be kind of connected to Japan. And there were some like really biggest crypto celebrities living in Japan. And in the very early years, they just gave away free Bitcoins so people could start learning how to use them. So the mining started early, and even when it was still a very real value to the world, but they did it. Then we also had like the biggest hacks, and like in the crypto story market in Japan. So Mt. Gox was one of the worst hacks ever when they hacked a crypto exchange. And it really cost a lot of it. Just 2018, Japan lost over 600 million in user funds. But despite all these hacks, it's very popular in Japan. Not only that, like many people trade cryptocurrencies, but you can pay electrical bills, you can buy drinks with Bitcoin in Tokyo bars, and now recently also Nikkei listed companies. Nexon was the first one to start that in 2021 in April, and they bought, like in the heights of Bitcoin, they bought like 1,717 Bitcoins and put them on the balance sheet. So that's starting to make the story being like crypto being more adopted and continuing that story. Looking at crypto in numbers, as you like, if you know Japan a little bit, like they don't like to talk much. So it was very difficult to get detailed numbers about cryptocurrency tradings in Japan. They kind of like hide it a little bit. In 2018 they started, and it was kind of like not really surprising that in 2018 Bitcoin accounted for, like the yen accounts for 56% of Bitcoins, and followed by the US dollar in 28%. So that was 2018. And in 2018, Japan was #1, positioned is like owed to this like strong legal system and the supporting industry to build credibility among investors. But like crypto in Japan, as you can see, is Bitcoin. So that's the volume in March 21. Bitcoin in comparison to all other major cryptocurrencies. So Bitcoin is very much connected to Japan. If we look at digital activities in the economy, Japan is a little bit behind. Like it ranks 27th in digital competitive and 22nd in digital talent. So they can catch up. That's like probably owed to the strong manufacturing background. And also out of 500 unicorn startups, only 5 came out of Japan, which is not representing their strengths globally. And there is a big competition on talent and the pressure to innovate in the Japanese economy. And that's a challenge for the country. Nevertheless, we can see that it has been changing, and the Japanese government has put money and activities out there, which you can see here on the left side, to support startups. And I've just shared here a few of the initiatives, what they have been doing, but they're putting governmental initiatives, and the result is that there is startups to watch in 21, and they are mainly coming from the fintech area, or at least like financial related areas. So there's a good amount of, but still way behind other comparable economies. If we look at like the growth in cryptocurrency companies in Japan, way behind Asia, and out of the around 167 fintech startups in Japan, only 20 were blockchain related. So that's not really the ratio we see in other countries. Here's a few of the most successful cryptocurrency companies in Japan. So their exchanges and other areas where the Japanese scene is developing. Now, to finish the presentation in the last couple of minutes, I'd like to come to the stablecoin, which this presentation is about, and summarize it a little bit. So we see that stablecoins globally are getting a very high importance, and that is probably due to the fact that the cryptocurrency market is very volatile, and the stablecoins, especially the Ether, bring stability for investors. And we can see here like a chart where we can see the trading of the top 5 coins globally, that the Ether has a volume which is like really exceptionally high. And like what's the stablecoin offering is the stability, because it's like connected to some backed currency, fiat currency, or other treasuries. And that is what we are going to do with the Japanese yen unit stablecoin as well. But before I go into this, let me look into what Japan is doing regarding stablecoin. And Japan likes stability. I mean, we saw that already. They like stability because that stability has given them growth. They have so many other unstable factors in their environment that whatever they can do is they will continue to concentrate on the stability. And the yen stability will continue the cryptocurrency growth. And the yen stability already provides very little incentive to companies to hedge currency risk with high volatile cryptocurrencies. So they want something stable. And we can see that already that there is a first Japanese stablecoin in 2021 issued, the Japanese yen coin. And Japan likes that coin. And it has already been adopted by Amazon and by other companies, so that these types of cryptocurrencies and stablecoins can even be used in day-to-day currency transactions. So Japan is prepared and inviting in order to issue stablecoins. In a conclusion for this like short 20-25 minutes presentation, I'd just like to say that Japan is solid in its economy. right? The digital startup scene has a potential because it hasn't been developed. And cryptocurrency is already showing up. So like whatever happens, the Japanese finance is stable, economy is stable, but also the emotional a way of dealing with volatile cryptocurrencies, hacking in the market, they can cope with that. So good base to start. Japan is seen as a crypto hub already globally, and adapts regulation, supports the adaptation. So this regulation is strong, but it makes sense, and it's supporting, clearly supporting the adoption of cryptocurrency. We can see that like in many facts I've already mentioned. Japan, they feel like they invented crypto because like Satoshi Nakamoto is kind of seen as a Japanese person. Even if everybody else in the world sees he's a pseudonym, the Japanese, they think he's Japanese, right? So, and that's cool for them. So they like that, they're early adopters. And like number 4, like looking, since this is a presentation on Japan, but also with the outlook on like what can we do with an additional stablecoin here, is they want stablecoins. Japan has started a pilot project for a central-based digital currency. So we are in a good way here to support that. So what can we do here? So first of all, like if you look at this presentation later on, you can join our network. So here's good information for you. And we will support you, and also like our, like of course, tokens, and the Japanese yen unit stablecoin token is just one of them. We have a variety of offerings in our ecosystem, from the Unit Foundation, the conferences, the ventures, just the masters, the university, and the news. So it's really an amazing growth framework for you to join in. So what awaits you if you can connect yourself with these 3 goals, like gratitude in your life, growth in your life, and contribute to the green future. So we want to create a token-based economy, transparent, fair, and secure. We offer a springboard for your personal growth, and we support your sustainability goals. So we would be happy, and I would be happy seeing you on board here. Hope you enjoyed the presentation, and if there's any questions, please feel free. And I will open this one for questions. And if not so, thank you for sharing. And if you listen afterwards, please connect me. You find me on Telegram, Christian Nicolai, or like in the unit network. Thank you.